I think the iPhone's getting worse, and it's not even just the iPhone, it's just kind of all of Apple's products have felt off recently. And I say this as somebody who's been using Apple stuff constantly for over a decade. From front to back, 2024 was Apple's roughest of the modern era. Many products got their most disappointing updates in history, iOS became increasingly convoluted and buggy, and Apple Vision Pro, their first truly all-new product in nearly 10 years. Well, it's not the breakthrough that the company promised. These are some big problems that Apple has on their hands, and when you add all of it together, I think it's bigger than people realize. So let me explain. So much of Apple's appeal, at least initially, was their ability to innovate and change products super quickly. I mean, their run from 2007 to 2014 was generational. In just 7 years, we got a revolutionary mobile phone that changed the world, a large tablet computer that put the internet in your hands, and a smartwatch that people actually wanted to wear to track their health. All of that in 7 years is a stark comparison to the 7 years that followed the Apple Watch, where the only truly new product released in that time was a pair of perfected wireless headphones. Now, AirPods, to be clear, are incredible, but when you look at everything else released in those 7 years following the Apple Watch, it was a lot of moderate updates and spin-offs of Apple's other existing products. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Sure, a lot of these releases in the late 2010s may have not been the most exciting, but by making incremental and continuous updates to everything in their lineup every year, Apple made their stuff feel fresh enough for most people. Especially if you hadn't upgraded in a while. If you had a 4-year-old MacBook, the new one would be leaps and bounds ahead, even though the updates between that time were really small. But fast forward to this year, and it feels like Apple has stopped even doing these bare minimum updates. AirPods Max, after receiving no hardware updates at all for 4 years, were finally updated in 2024 with a USB-C port, and nothing else? They didn't even lower the price from $549 for some reason. Then the Apple Watch Ultra 2 was re-released as a worse version of the same thing. Sure, it came in black now, but it lacked the blood oxygen sensor because Apple is still in an ongoing patent dispute over it, meaning that the Apple Watch Ultra 2 that released in 2023 was a better product with more features than the Apple Watch Ultra 2 released in 2024. I mean, when you put it like that, it sounds pretty wild, right? And there are more examples from Apple this year too, like this summer when Apple finally updated the HomePod Mini with a new shade of black and nothing else after 4 years of no updates, or the new iPad Mini where Apple gave it a faster chip but still didn't fix the issues with its display after 3 years of no updates. Listen, I'm saying it in this way to illustrate just how wild it is that almost half of Apple's new products this year weren't just small updates, they were bad updates. There just has not been a year in recent history with this many consecutive lazy releases. I mean, 1 or 2, I guess I get, but this many shows there's something else going on. The thing is, it's not just Apple's hardware that's falling behind, it's their software too, specifically iOS on the iPhone. My iPhone 16 Pro with iOS 18 is super inconsistent. It restarts way more frequently than any other iPhone that I've owned. Apps lag out in ways I've never seen prior. Add on top of that the rollout of Apple Intelligence, I have lost track of what features are actually here and available and what we're still waiting on. I mean, more broadly, Apple Intelligence might be the clearest example of where Apple's at as a company right now. Promising the world, but only delivering on some of it, and making you wait months for the finished thing, only to get it and realize that it wasn't even that good in the first place. But here's the part I don't get. I am only having this bad experience on my iPhone and on my Apple Watch. When I go over to one of the new M4 MacBook Pros, this computer is reliable, it's consistent, it's a tank, and it feels like the hardware and software were built for each other. I just don't get how the same company is putting out these two products, especially when the iPhone accounts for over half of Apple's revenue. Why does this feel worse than one of your smallest product categories? Apple used to be synonymous with the idea that when you picked up one of their products, it just worked. And that's just not true for the iPhone anymore. Now, that being said, if Apple is doing one thing right across all of their products, it's their continued commitment to privacy and security. But unfortunately, that alone isn't enough anymore. And that's thanks to these folks known as data brokers, who have a sole purpose to collect as much personal information about you as possible, and then they sell it to other people to make money. And you might be like, I didn't. even know that that was happening. Yeah, I was surprised too when I looked at my name and found out everything that I could see. Luckily, thanks to Incogni, who actually sponsored today's video, they help you put an end to this, because what you do is send Incogni the information that you want to get removed. And on your behalf, they reach out to all of these data brokers one by one, and they give you this great dashboard to track the requests that they've made, the ones that are in progress and the ones that have been completed. You can see which ones removed your data. So take your data back with Incogni. When you use code AppleTrack, you can get 60% off of an annual plan when you go to incogni.com/AppleTrack. A huge thank you again to Incogni for sponsoring this and for giving me a fresh start at the internet. It is genuinely so refreshing. Okay, a huge thank you to them. Now let's get back to it. All of this being said, Apple doing these weird product updates and releasing buggy software, it's frustrating that we're here, but in time, I'm confident they can fix it. They've had moments like this with products in the past, and they've been able to solve it. But there's one more problem that goes way deeper that I don't think is quite as simple. And that is Apple's ability to continue creating new product categories that ultimately change the world. See, as long as I've been alive, Apple has proven with their track record that they can do that time and time again. But then they announced Apple Vision Pro, and everything changed. I'll be honest, when I first saw this, I was convinced that Apple had done it again. This was the start of a new era of spatial computing, and we would look back one day on our physical computers and phones and laugh that we used to carry these things like physically with us, and it wasn't just always on our face. And I have never been so wrong. It's not that Apple Vision Pro is useless, it's just that this product is such a clear picture of Apple's lack of vision. Listen, Apple Vision Pro is now my favorite way to watch movies. It's an incredible experience that anyone can appreciate, and it's ruined TVs for me. They all look too small. But outside of watching movies, there's not a single thing in my life that I use Vision Pro to do ever. Hey, watching videos is cool and fun, but for this product to be a true success, it has to be good at more than just one thing, and right now it isn't. Nothing about Apple Vision Pro has changed the world in the same way that the iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, or AirPods did. Yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say that waiting 8 years after the Apple Watch just to get this thing hadn't shaken my confidence in Apple's ability to create truly breakthrough products in a post-Steve Jobs era, because this is Tim Cook's baby, and it's the weirdest new product Apple's ever released. Even so, Apple's obviously not done trying. They're not throwing in the towel because the Apple Vision Pro isn't the next big thing. So what's coming next? Rumors suggest that Apple's exploring a lot of big ideas right now. A lightweight pair of augmented reality glasses, a real Apple television set, a humanoid robot that helps you with chores around your house. All of this sounds like it could be game-changing. But does Apple still have the ability to refine their technology to the caliber of an iPhone or an Apple Watch? Can they do that to these big ideas this decade? I don't know. I mean, down the road, humanoid robot, dope. And AR glasses like these. I hope to do a review one day where I'm like, these are the Apple glasses that you can't even tell. But, you know, aside from the TV, I think they've got a bit of ways to go. What I'm trying to say is this. We're at a point where, for the first time in Apple's history as a company, they don't seem to have that next big thing on lock. We always had that thing to look forward to. One day it was the watch. One day it was the VR headset. Now what... A robot, maybe, one day? What can I say? We're on a weird timeline currently, where Apple's products and software are the messiest they have ever been, and they also have no clear roadmap for the future of their company. But I have to say I'm still optimistic. Even after this entire video, I don't think it's gonna be like this forever, and here's why. In the past, we've seen Apple go through periods like this. In the 90s, they almost went bankrupt. A smaller example in the mid-2010s with the new MacBook Pros. These had keyboards that constantly broke and no ports on them, and the performance wasn't very good, and then in 1 year, they fixed it all with Apple Silicon in 2021 and made the arguably best computer man has ever seen. Because if there is one thing that Apple will always do, even if it takes years, even if it takes way longer than it should, it's that eventually they will listen to criticism. So while I hate to end this video on a time will tell line, I mean, it really is the case here. Time will tell whether Apple can figure this out. I've laid out all the evidence and, you know, it's kind of up to them to take action and fix everything now. Can they? Probably. Will they? I sure hope so. 2024 was one for the books and not in a good way. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I've been Sam. I hope you are doing well, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye-bye.